The headlines this month have been telling us inflation is cooling, wages are growing, the job market is holding up. So why does 1 in 3 Americans think their finances are about to get worse, not better, in 2026? That's the highest level of pessimism on record in years, and it's not coming from people in crisis. It's coming from regular households who just feel like every month things are quietly getting harder. Let's decode this together. We're going to look at what a brand new Bankrate survey just revealed about how Americans actually feel about their money right now, why that feeling matters more than the headline numbers we keep hearing, and what you can do this week to get a small piece of your leverage back. Bankrate just released a survey that should make every cable news network stop and pay attention. About 1 in 3 Americans, 32%, expect their personal finances to get worse in 2026, not better. That's the highest level of pessimism Bankrate has recorded since they started tracking this question. And it's been climbing fast. You can almost feel the exhale in that number. It's the sound of millions of households quietly bracing themselves, not panicking, not protesting, just bracing. That brace position is the part we want to talk about today. Because when this many people expect things to get worse, it doesn't stay a feeling. The bracing starts changing how they spend, how they save, and how they make every small decision in front of them. It's also a real disconnect from what the headlines say. The official inflation numbers are coming down. Unemployment is still low. By the macro story we keep being told, things should feel okay. But for a lot of households, they really don't. So which one is right? The data or the feeling? Here's the part that doesn't show up in any single news story, because there isn't a single news story to point at. What's squeezing households right now isn't one big event. It's the accumulation of 100 small ones. Rent went up at renewal. Groceries keep creeping up without anything looking different in the cart. Car insurance bumped. Daycare quietly raised tuition. The phone bill nudged. Add the streaming bundle, the gym, the kids' activity fees, all of it. Each one, on its own, is a shrug. Together, they're a different paycheck. That's the mechanism behind this pessimism. It isn't a crisis, it's a drag. A slow, compounding pressure that doesn't generate a headline, but does empty a checking account a little faster every month. And here's what makes that drag so disorienting. When you hear inflation is cooling, what that actually means is prices are still going up, just a little less aggressively than before. Your grocery total isn't going back to what it was 3 years ago, it's just rising more slowly from here. We hear how silly that sounds when the headline says inflation is cooling while you're standing in the cereal aisle doing math you never used to have to do. That gap between the data and the doorway is exactly what this survey is measuring. And it's why every official update lands a little flat. Cooling on a chart isn't the same as cheaper at the register. The chart is forward-looking. The register is the part you live in. Now picture what this looks like at one specific kitchen table. Maya is 38, lives in Phoenix with her partner and their 2 kids, and works in customer service at a regional company that hasn't given her a real raise in 2 years. Last weekend, she sat down to add up the month's grocery spending. Same store, same brands, same family. The total was about $300 higher than it was a year ago. When she pulled up the rest of the budget, the rent had gone up at renewal. The car insurance had gone up. The daycare bill had gone up. None of it was a disaster on its own, but all of it together meant the buffer they used to have at the end of the month, the small cushion that quietly handled flat tires and birthday parties and an extra trip to the doctor, was gone. That's the part of this story the macro numbers can't capture. Maya isn't in financial crisis. Her family pays every bill on time. None of the credit cards are maxed out. By every official measure, she's doing fine. But her cushion is gone. And without that cushion, every small surprise feels like a big one. The dryer breaks, a kid needs new shoes, the car makes a noise. Things that used to be just life become spreadsheet emergencies. That's what running out of slack actually looks like day to day. Nobody calls a press conference about it, but it's the texture of how a paycheck stops feeling like enough. That's the version of this survey that doesn't make it into the headline. Pessimism isn't panic. It's the realistic read of a household that ran out of slack. For Maya, the number that finally made her pay attention was that grocery total. About $300 more a month than a year ago. That's a car payment. For some households, it's a daycare copay. For others, it's the entire emergency savings goal for the year. Gone into food. And here's the move we want every household watching this to think about doing this week. Set a 30-minute timer. Pull up your bank account, your last credit card statement, and your most recent rent or mortgage bill. Write down every fixed monthly expense you have. Then, write your monthly take-home pay above it. Look at the gap. If the gap is positive, even by a little, you have something to work with. When it's uncomfortably small or negative, you've just identified the most important problem in your financial life this week, and you can stop wasting energy on anything else. Then pick one thing. Just one. Maybe it's a streaming service you forgot you were paying for. Could be a subscription that auto-renewed last month, or the second restaurant night each week you don't actually look forward to. Cancel it, pause it, or shift it, and take whatever you saved, even $50, and move it into a separate savings account today. That's the entire move. It won't solve inflation, and it can't undo a rent renewal, but it'll give you something the survey can't measure, which is the feeling of having one small piece of your money back under your own control. Right now, that feeling is the most valuable thing you can give yourself. Going forward, here are a few things we're watching closely as the rest of this year unfolds. The first is the next Consumer Price Index release. That's the number that tells us how fast prices are still rising overall, and the trend matters more than any single reading. If it keeps cooling, this kind of pessimism could ease. If it ticks back up, the brace position deepens. Next, watch whether wage growth starts outpacing price growth for the average household. When that flips, the squeeze loosens. When it doesn't, it tightens. And the third, the one you can check in less than 5 minutes right now, is your own monthly subscriptions. Pull up your last credit card statement and scan for anything you forgot you were paying for. It's the simplest financial move there is, and the dollars you stop quietly losing are dollars you can redirect. It isn't glamorous. It's just 30 seconds of paying attention to the bills you've stopped looking at. We'll be watching how this lands as the next data release comes out and what it does to the sentiment behind this survey. There's a lot still unfolding here. So here's the takeaway for the week. The pessimism in this survey isn't weakness, it's realism. 1 in 3 Americans is doing the math in their head and concluding, honestly, that the stretch ahead is going to be tighter, not looser. That feeling deserves to be taken seriously, not waved away. But realism doesn't have to mean resignation. The 30-minute audit, the one paused subscription, the small move into savings, none of it fixes the macro picture. What it does is shift you from someone things are happening to into someone making one small decision back. That's the difference between bracing and building. Quick reminder, everything we cover on Decoded Money is for educational purposes only. None of this is financial advice, and we're not licensed financial advisors. Before you make any money moves, Do your own research and talk to someone who knows your specific situation. If this was useful, hit subscribe. We do this every week. That's the Decode for this week. We'll see you in the next one.